Good morning, dear spiritual family, and welcome to Sunday morning. As you know, our building is locked up, and we don't know when we can get into it yet, but our communication with you is something we look forward to, and I appreciate all of you all over the world. We, we've been training to expand our teaching to more people, and this is a interesting way to do it. But we're moving right along. I want to share with you our lesson this morning, and I think after being locked up for over 40 days, that all of us have probably been through a version of self awareness we may never have gone through before. And it's important to understand, because of all that get the understanding what of the truth of yourself, which means that you need to recognize that the truth of you is greater than anything you've ever conceived of. There's one life, it's God, it's our life. That is the religion of our science. The science of our religion is what you do from that awareness, self awareness, spiritual self awareness. You see, to be aware is to have knowledge. To be aware is to realize that we have the opportunity to explore our knowledge about ourselves. So, what is our knowledge about ourselves? Are we buying into a world opinion or somebody else's opinion of us, or the truth of ourselves? You see, the real self is God given. The real self cannot be denied. It is a place where God comes to a point of individualized and personified expression. Say with me, just think about this as you say it. I am the light of the world. I am the light. I am the light of the world. You see, my friends, peace is the power at the heart of God. It is through the revelation of self, the revelation of the self to the self, that one understands life and can approach it consciously through recognition of our unity of the individual with the spirit back of it, and through all we discover what the words I am the light of the world really mean, what it refers to. It refers not to the human personality, but to the life principle inherent in everyone. In you and me, we were born with it. One of the things it used to cause me to think was when I first heard what I'm looking for, I'm looking with. What does that mean? It means what I'm looking for really is the principle of life within me. That is the self awareness I need. So, what are we doing? Those who follow a inner principle, a life principle, are people who really are the light of everything they're involved in. Why? Because they're living from the principle of life. God, as the principle of life, is the power that made everything out of itself. It is spirit. It is absolute. Now, this, what's a good description? Precious incarnation. This precious incarnation is within us. Until we become aware of our indwelling riches, what happens? Many times when we're not aware of the truth of ourselves, we create hurtful conditions and experiences without realizing it due to our negative use of the God power. That's all it is. You see, as we become more aware of principle, Dr. Robert Bitzer, my dear mentor and friend and colleague who started this whole work called Religious Science with Dr. Ernest Holmes back in 1918, was a pilot for the Lafayette Escadrille before World War I started. I was so honored to serve with him, to call him colleague, to call him friend, to serve on the board of Religious Science International with him. He spent a great deal of time focused on my work and what I was doing, and we have a thing on our Facebook where I say that we teach religious science the way Ernest Holmes wanted it taught. Well, we also teach it the way Dr. Robert Bitzer wanted it taught. And what Dr. Bitzer shared over and over and over again as president of Religious Science International and as one of the founders of religious science was, do not neglect principle even on special occasions. Do not forget about principle even on special occasions. So what does this lead us to? Again, God, as the principle of life, is the power that made everything out of itself. It is spirit. It is absolute. Now, this principle, again, incarnated in us as us, is us. But until we become aware of it, we all have talents. Once we discover the talent, then we need to enhance the talent. We need to exercise the talent. A lot of people have a talent of being unhappy. And there's a lot of people who have a talent of being happy and looking for the answer instead of the problem. They're looking for all the wonderful things they're going to do when this restriction to our movement is over and we can return to a new norm, because I have a feeling, and I agree with a lot of people who are pointing out that we will never go back to what we were. And if we utilize this experience we're all moving through in the right way, we can become aware more and more and more of the principle. Because wherever your mind goes, your world follows. This is true whether you're a Buddhist or a Baptist. So our truth is our truth, and it's the truth of everyone, everywhere. Why? Because the principle is in everyone, everywhere. Why? Because it is everyone, everywhere. Now, again, we begin with dominion and choice. Choose you this day whom you shall serve. We talked about this last week. The blessing or the curse, that's not two powers, it's two ways of using one power. So, principle. Let's get back to principle. There is a principle that says, it is done unto you as you believe. So check out your belief system. And know that you believe what you believe. Choose to believe what you believe. And what you believe is not working for you, believe something else. If it works for you, keep believing it. So our challenge is to wake up and know that spirit as self-consciousness, self-knowing life, that this principle, again, let's define it this way: spirit as conscious life. Now, what does spirit as conscious life reveal? It reveals the teaching of something that's been going on for thousands of years, and that is the teaching of I am. This is the whole metaphysical teaching wrapped up in two words: I am. I am is the principle of divine science, the principle of religious science, the principle of unity. Principle, I am. The I am principle. Now let's get into an understanding of the I am principle. Dr. Robert Bitzer, and let's get back to Dr. Bitzer. Dr. Bitzer spent a great deal of time in his ministry focused on the idea that if we say I am and put something negative after it, we are taking the name of the Lord thy God in vain. So if you're going to say I am, put something beautiful after it. Put something wonderful after it. The teaching of I am is the universal idea of principle in action. The I am consciousness is what? It is the conscious and subjective mind which affirms its unity with God in understanding the meaning of its affirmation. Now, this understanding does what? This understanding empowers the individual to be centered in and live from the real self, their true identity. Now, let's look at principle. Principle is absolute, and to live in principle as the absolute means that we are living and thinking independently of existing circumstance. This is the whole basis of the New Thought teaching. This brings us freedom rather than bondage. It brings us freedom rather than being locked up. I may be locked up physically, but I'm not subjectively, I'm not spiritually. This brings us freedom rather than bondage. It brings us joy instead of grief. It brings us wholeness instead of sickness. No longer do we judge by appearances. We are what? We are unified. We are unified in our awareness of God. We realize our subjective self is the immediate conjunction, the immediate awareness, the immediate connection to the greater good that is ours by right of consciousness. This immediate connection between the absolute and the relative is something we become aware of, and we remind ourselves in spiritual mind treatment. There is one life, it's God, it's my life, which is the religion of our science. What I affirm is the science of our religion because I understand why cause becomes effect through law, through principle. Through spiritual law, we are connected with the whole. The absolute is in relationship to itself alone and is always available. Always available. Right here, right now, it's available. It's always available to do what we need it to do, to be what we need it to be, to correct not what needs to be corrected. It is done unto us as we believe. Wherever your mind goes, your world follows, and this is a truth that we understand, and you probably knew it before you knew about this teaching. Again, through spiritual law, we're connected with the whole. The absolute is the relative at the level of the relative. The relative is the absolute at the level of the relative. Everything is everything else. Everything that has been and will be is all happening at once. The now that we're in is what's important. What are you giving to what's in front of you? For years I've been teaching if you want to master where you want to be, you must first master where you are. There's too many people out there saying, well, as soon as it gets better, I'll feel better. That's the wrong way. Feel better, you'll get better. Now, let's look at principle again. Principle is spirit and self-contemplating. The self, what does it do? It manifests as self-awareness. The revelation of the self to the self is the greatest experience you can have on planet Earth. Our consciousness of God is the consciousness of our real self, which is both personal and impersonal. All our experiences occur in consciousness, dear friends. When you know that you have achieved self-awareness, this allows you to mold your life based on principle for fulfilling and enriching the experience you desire to have. It's yours by right of consciousness. A lot of times people treat truth in action. I am my desired good health. I am my desired happiness and freedom as I cooperate with the law of mind, with principle that we talked about in our lesson. I am a greater expression of love in my world as I rid myself of anything unlike love. I am a doer, and therefore I am a continual receiver. I accept today's responsibility as my opportunity to express what I know I am. I am an unlimited promise of God. I know it so, and let it be my way. And so it is, and was, and shall be forever. Let it be your way, my friends. Again, thank you for being with me. We're on the air. We're on the internet. Wednesdays and Sundays until the lockup is over, and we may continue it after that. But right now, be the best you know how to be. Know that you are a mighty moving power of God. And again, let it be your way. Namaste.